y'all. Welcome to Unleash with DNA. I'm Amy.
And I'm Dawn, and we're so glad you're here.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi, Amy.
How you doing?
I'm doing great today. How about you?
Good. We're finally back in the studio to record our final episode in the live series, which is Experiences Matter for the E in life. Experiences Matter. And admittedly, we have been absent from the podcast studio because we have been out having experiences and that matters. So I'm not shy about it. I don't feel guilty about it, but we are a little bit behind. So I'm glad that we finally are able to come together today to knock this last episode out. And it's a good one. I know we've been prepping for it and been alluding to it throughout some other episodes about our new awakening or mindset in regard to experiences, and have a lot to share today.
Yes, ma'am. And I do think having the break and kind of being busy with life the last couple of weeks has kind of really made this podcast, this message, even more meaningful versus the research. It's actually personal because we've been doing some life experiences, and I am realizing very quickly that life experiences matter more than possessions. And that's a whole, probably another podcast in itself, but I think we can touch a little bit on that today, because I think, comparison is a thief of joy is one of my favorite quotes that we shared like in the Joy series, which was our first series that we kicked off with. And as I was doing some research on this one, and I can't help but personally agree, is that life experiences will help combat any comparison that you have in life, because people who are having greater life experiences are actually have less comparison to others. And I thought that was really kind of unique when I did some research and read it. But then being out of pocket for the last week and kind of being out doing life, I honestly really didn't care about what anybody else was doing. I was so, engulfed in my own life that I didn't pay attention to anyone else. So I think it's kind of just ironic the way that we go from our Joy series over to our Life series, but yet they're kind of all a little intertwined, and they kind of all just kind of somehow, kind of cross pollinate the messaging with each other. And I just think it's kind of really cool and unique how that kind of all comes together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, that if you're busy out doing things and enjoying your own life and experiencing, you're paying less attention to what other people are doing. And so it keeps you, from that death scroll, where you're, oh, look what they're doing, look what
Mm-hmm.
they're doing, because you're out doing your own thing. So that really makes sense to me. I was researching a little bit too about experiences, and I came across, there's this website called the Happy Prize Company, and they had this blog on why experiences matter more than things. And I know that we've talked about earlier in the live series with Invest in Your Present and Future. And we talked a little bit how in the book Die with Zero, you compartmentalize you have three buckets of things that you have to, think about in life. And one obviously is money, and two is time, and three is health, and how all those three things have to be aligned for you to live your best life, to live a fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
life. And when I read this thing, on the highlight was spend money on experiences, not things. And there was this 20-year study that was conducted by a professor at Cornell University. His name is Dr. Thomas Gilovich. I think that's how you say his name. And he did this fascinating research, and basically he concluded that experiences are more valuable than things. You get much more out of an experience than you ever will by buying a thing. And two of the biggest takeaways, or kind of some highlights, were experiences cause excitement. So when you experience something, or the lead up to an experience, and I know you've talked about this before, your favorite thing about going on vacation is seeing it on your calendar and knowing that you have something to look forward to and the excitement that comes with that. So he says experiences cause excitement and things cause impatience. or things can cause anxiety, like this run up that you've got to buy something, or you're saving up for something and you can't quite get there. And so it causes your body to go through this different like feeling, if you will, versus when you're going to spend money on an experience. And then secondly, which this is really interesting, it said experiences are fleeting. And that's actually a good thing, means like they come and they go. And so it almost forces you to, like, while you're in the moment of that experience, to really think about it, enjoy it, be in the moment, because you know you only have this many days or this set of time, and then this experience is going to be over. And then where when you buy a thing, yeah, it happens in that moment, but then you could have some reverb when you get home and be like, man, I really feel guilty about that purchase. I shouldn't have spent that much. I didn't really think that through or do enough research, or I'm disappointed in this. I thought it was going to be much better. And then I got it home and it's not. And I know there's positive things, positive vibes that you get when you buy things. I'm not suggesting that none of us ever buy things anymore, but just some some research that was done on why experiences turn out to be better. Spending money on experiences turn out to be better than buying things. So I think, to your point, it helps you from, comparing, because when you buy things, you automatically compare. Is my thing better than someone else's thing? And then two, about how you don't get any of the benefit of, that lead into it. And then just being in the moment of an experience lasts a little bit longer than maybe just that one-off thing that you're buying. So I, I think this topic is so deep that we could spend a lot of time talking about it, but
Mm-hmm.
off the bat, what else did you read on
I,
experiences and
Well, and it's kind of funny because I am naturally a kind of person, even if it's a concert, a live music or whatever, but I have to have things on my calendar. It's what gets me through life. And I don't know how many people are that way, but I am built that way. And I have it gets me through anything I'm going through, knowing that I'm going to be gone to this concert, or I'm going to be meeting you on vacation, or going to hang out with my family, or whatever I'm doing. But I read something when I was doing my research, is it says life experiences are what makes us who we are. They shape our character. They give us capacity to handle challenges better. Life is all about experiences. Possessions can be lost or damaged, but experience is something that you cannot take away. It's kind of just eye opening for me, because we get on this, we just know what brings us joy. And so we try to put more of that in our life. But it's that intentionality that you and I have been talking about on all of our episodes. With now that I am realizing this and doing research just to prepare for this conversation, I wasn't really intentional. I just knew what I like. But now realizing that it is those life experiences that make me handle the more challenging situations that I'm going to deal with. Because let's just be honest, life is not always a picnic. You know what I mean?
mhm,
There is going to be things that we're going to be dealing with. And everybody heard that even when you had your experience with Beryl. I mean, we're going to go through things, but life experiences are what make things better. It's not going to be something that we can buy. It's going to be something that we can live. And I just think it's really kind of ironic that you can think life experiences can take away comparison. They can create more mindfulness. They can create, the challenging situations can be better. I mean, when you think about that, it's like life experiences they're just, you just go on vacation, or you love live music and you're going to go to live music, or maybe it's that you enjoy the beach or the lake. Or I read that life experiences can be done alone, but they are more meaningful when they're a shared experience with one or more people. And I think, that's interesting. And just to kind of personalize a little bit, I'm in the process of thinking about making a purchase, you know, in and as I'm making the purchase, I'm going through this dreaded burden. You know how I am. You know how I am. I am the hugest big regret with any big purchases that I make. But what I've been doing these last couple days preparing for this podcast is imagining what this financial decision could create for my life experiences resume, which I know that you have a lot to say, but I mean, when you look at your purchase and if it's going to create more life experiences for you, then when you look at it that way, I do think it releases you a little bit of the burden because now you're visualizing what kind of life experiences you're going to get from sometimes some of the purchases that we make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's not a thing that's going to sit in your closet, you're going to wear 3 times, carry on your shoulder, and it might go out of style. It's you're going to spend money that is going to allow you and your family and your friends to have more life experiences. So to me, that purchase is on an experience, not a thing, even though it is a thing. It's gonna create experiences, so technically, you can chalk that up to you are spending money on an experience, not a thing, okay? And that's just how we wanna look at it, and anybody that wants to can call us out on that, and I dare you to, because this is a two-way podcast. But I wanna you bring up the life resume, and what I thought about is I'm like, I find it so fascinating that we grow up and all through my life, starting from when I got out of high school and kind of did a little bit of, and you get into your work life, right? And everything around you and everything that you're hearing, and is like, you got to build up your experience. You got to build up your work experience. And then you do something, you put it on your resume, then you go and you do something else, you put it on your resume, and you're building up all this experience because that's what we're told to do. Because the more experience you have, the more earning potential you have, the more opportunity you have. Nowhere, anywhere besides die with zero have I ever been told, has anybody told me to focus on that I need to be equally building up my life experience resume and that I need to be chronicling the same way that you would a timeline on a resume, the experiences that you got, that you went through or you go through during life and why they matter and how they're building up just your persona, who you are, how it's shaping you. And nobody tells us to do that. It's like it's not a thing. And I find it fascinating that there's just, and maybe it's our culture, maybe it's how, I don't know. There's nobody out there preaching other than Bill Perkins that's got me thinking how valuable they are. And I kind of want to go back and almost write a old like diary of, I mean, I can remember some great trips that I went on as a kid and but I never thought of it that way. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
No, because we are a society of creating a resume around work experience. I mean, when you go to create a resume, how many resumes have you read? Both you and I have been leaders for a long time. I've had so many interviews, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to take this new information that I have, and when I interview people for in the future, I know on their resume it's going to give me their work experience, but I am going to intentionally ask them, share with me a couple life experiences that you feel comfortable sharing. Because I think that is just as equally important when you're bringing people onto your teams and you're going to be working with people, is to know what type of life experiences really matter to them. And I mean, obviously some will have more than others, but I just think it's meaningful. And
Mhm.
you're right. I mean, we are born to create our work experience so that when we sit down and we have a conversation about what company we're going to join and what job we're going to be getting for, which is going to pay for all these life experience. Let's just be honest. How you're going to make your income. People want to talk about work experience. People don't ask about your life experiences. People don't think that that is equally great. So that's why when you're in school, they teach you how to build a resume for a job, and that just doesn't include your life experiences. And I know that once we make the announcement, usually we'll kind of say, oh, and on the weekends, they like to be doing this, this, and this, and there's their hobbies, right? But it makes me want to sit down and say, I'm going to build my life experience resume. And you know what, Amy? Maybe nobody wants to read it but me. I'll share it
Maybe
with you.
not.
It's important.
It is important, and I think that as steadfast or motivated you are to build up your career resume for all the reasons why it's important, it can't be at the expense of your life resume. And we've talked about that on previous podcasts. And, you can easily let your different phases of your life slip away from you, where you should be doing different things in life that you are foregoing or missing out on because you're too busy putting too much value on your work resume than your life resume. And don't want to be that person that looks in the mirror, at 65 and looks back and say, I wish I would have, I wish I would have, I wish I would have, and now I can't. Like those, it's gone. And I know that we talked about that before in investing in your present and future. But there was that one little chapter in the book, or one piece in the one chapter where Bill Perkins shares that one of his when they were young and they were just starting out, and he was trying to work his way up, and they weren't making very much money. And his friend decides, like, screw this, I'm leaving for 2 years and I'm going to put on a backpack and I'm going to go travel the
Yeah.
world and hike. Like, he was like, wherever he could go, he was going. And he went into debt. He borrowed, I think, 10 grand or something, and just left for 2 years and had the time of his life. And Bill Perkins is scratching his head like, are you crazy? Like, this is your time. You should be building your work resume. And don't quote me exactly, but it was fascinating, that part of the story. Number one, that young man was brave enough to do that. I don't know that I would have ever been brave enough, but that he did. And then he came back and he shared, like, this is the best thing I ever did. And he'll never have that opportunity. As you grow through life and you get married and you have kids and whatever, you don't just get to haul ass for 2 years and go do whatever you want to do, because you're not in that time bucket anymore, right? So I just think it's so powerful. And I know I've shared this a million times, and maybe one day we'll stop talking about this book, but it changed me. It did. It changed my perspective on things. It made me like kind of regret that I didn't read it sooner, and I didn't, and I'm here now. But I think that's why we're so passionate about, both of us are liberating ourselves a little bit to be like, hey, whatever we missed out when we shoulda, coulda, wouldas, we're ready to do it now, and we're not waiting. We're not waiting anymore.
I know you're going to remember this when I tell you this, but you and I were on a vacation, and one of your dad's friends, it was years ago when we were on one of the cruises, and one of your dad's friends shared with us, Bob, that Bob quit his job for like a year and a half and went off and did whatever he wanted to do. And I remember thinking, that's so cool. That's so brave. But who does that?
Right.
And then who does this? Bob is probably the only person I know in real life that sat at a table with me and shared with me that basically, as a parent, he just took a 1.5, I think it was 1.5 years to 2 years, like sabbatical, and got a boat and did something. And I remember thinking, that is so cool and that's so brave, but nobody does that. But then you read a book and you're like, why didn't I do that?
Right.
Like, now I'm
right.
feeling like I should have did that.
Okay, but
Because I remember
caveat. Bob, dad's friend Bob. I'm not sure. I'm almost positive he's 80. Sish. He's still driving a truck for UPS. So he went back to work, and now the man can't quit. And I'm like, Bob, read the book. It's time. Get out of the truck. Get to living, get to spending, and get to being with your grandkids more often. And I am like all over him every time I see him, because I'm like, I know you're not still working. You are way past the bell. Like, come on. But he's hilarious. You know what I think it is?
Bob's a podcast in himself.
Oh my God, he's a podcast. You know what I think it is? He's scared that when he stops, that I think he's just used to being on the go, and it keeps his mind relevant, and it makes him feel young. And I have to give it to him. If that's the way he wants to live his 80s, you go for it. Even though I give him crap for it. Again, I cannot judge what people now think is important in their life. It's awkward. Like, he took a retirement in the middle of his working years, and now in his retirement years, he's working like a dog. Crazy. But that's Bob. And I love me some Bob. I just went to T-Bone Tom's with Bob the other day, and he's still as crazy as ever.
Love
when
him.
Glenn Duke was in town.
Love him.
he met us. So it was fun. Speaking of Glenn Duke,
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with him. Was it was this weekend. And you know, we start off and he goes through all his things, and then he's like, he said, Amy, I know I probably told you all this already before, because I kind of repeat myself because I don't have anyone else to talk to. I've got you, and I've got Bob, and I've got Gary, and I got Jason. And so when I get y'all on the phone, I just kind of ramble. He's like, but you know what? I really love talking to my friend Gary. He goes, because when we talk for an hour every time. And we just have so much fun talking about all the things that we used to do. And we tell stories and remember when we did this and remember when we did that. And we just laugh and we just have so much fun talking about all the crazy stuff we did. And I was sitting there in my mind going, that's exactly what memory dividends are. And that's exactly what they're for. And when you get into your late 70s, and maybe you don't have the health that you have anymore, and you don't have the ability to get out and go and do all of those things, you get on the phone with your friend and you laugh and you share, and that's what you have to look forward to every day, is getting on the phone and talking to anybody that'll listen and sharing all of the memories that you built up from your life experiences. And I mean, it brought it all home for me big time. Memory dividends and why they are so important.
Well, and if you read the book, I could, again, my perception of the book, but I agree with memory dividends. What I got out of it is it's the gift that just keeps giving, right? It's like you have the experience, and so you have that memory, and then you share it probably with your kids and your friends, and when you get back from your experience, you share it with everybody in your life, right? And so you're getting a dividend off of that. And then you get older and you're still having those same stories, or you're still looking at those same videos or photos, and you're just back in that place again. And I already experienced that today in my life, through my photos. And I mean, I can just get on and just relive and want to be back in that place. And it might not even be in the exact same place, but I just remember how I felt,
Yeah.
and that brings me joy. And so I think when I think of what Bill Perkins was trying to get across, at least to me, what I took away was life experiences give you memory dividends, which it's the gift that just keeps giving for as long as you're here. And even for the people that we lose along the way, it's, even when he's not going to be able to talk to Gary anymore about his experience, then he could later on talk to someone else who wants to listen to him talk about Gary and the
Right.
experiences that he had with Gary. So it's just this gift that keeps giving. No one's ever going to say, I remember when I went out and the day I bought this car that I had been saving for, and I remember what this car did for me. I just
Yeah.
don't know how many people, I don't know how many stories that you're getting about things that you just either put in your garage or that you put in your house or in your closet, where people are sharing that when they get older. I just don't know if it really matters.
Well, I think for me, because when you think about, like we shared in Invest in Your Present and Future, your life in decades, and he tells you you're going to over worry. You're going to think, oh, I'm going to save because when I get to 65 and beyond, I am going to go, 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 go. And he's like, and then when you get there, you're going to do a little bit less in between your 60s and 70s. You're going to do a little bit less and then less in your 70s to 80s, and then your 80 and so on. And you think to yourself, kind of when you're reading that, nah, not me. Mm-mm. I'm going to work out. I'm going to stay strong. I'm not going to be that person. But then I had a real life example of my dad, who has been a go-getter, have fun, traveled. My mom worked in the airlines, exercised every day of his life. And I'm telling you, he has slowed his roll. He's had to. And he can't do all of those things because he's worried about falling and all the different things that he's had that's gone on in his life. And so he is now reflecting back on all the memory dividends that he has. And that's what's bringing him joy every day when he's on the phone with Gary. And I cannot tell you how many memory dividends he talks about now with mom being gone. Like
Oh yeah.
when mom was alive, they were the Bickersons. They were the total Bickersons. They argued all the time. I'm like, why are y'all even married? Y'all are just constant, like, rah, 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 all the time. And now he talks about my mom like she's like the queen. And Vicky did this, and when you and my mother, and it's like sad, because she's gone. But I'm glad to hear that those are the memories he remembers. Of course, I wouldn't let him talk about bad about Vicky Duke. I mean, you know me.
He
So
wouldn't
we talk
anyway.
about all the great
What can you
stuff.
say bad
Never,
about her?
never. And I still give him crap for some of the stuff he did when I was young. And anyway, but he doesn't care. He understands. He admits it. But Dawn, it's real. I am watching it in real life. This book play out through the different people that I know that are at the different stages, young to our age to older. It's crazy how vivid it is now that I'm just aware. I mean, I've told everybody and anybody that wants to listen to read the book, and it may not hit you the way it did me. And if you just have one thing that some of it's out there and it's not for everybody, but I'm happy that I did. I'm happy that I'm more aware of why it's important to live life today, to live a life that's more fulfilled and less filled with things.
Absolutely. And I think that I really think, like, first of all, if you read the book, which we're not like getting any money for promoting the book, I just want to let everybody know that we got mean nothing. But if you read it, I think it's important to every day on a regular basis be intentional about challenging our mindsets, because it's the one thing we can control. And I guarantee you that if we challenge ourselves every day to think differently or to look at things from a different perspective, you're just going to really enrich your life in some capacity. There's no way. Try something new, create a new hobby, even just anything you can do. Because I mean, when you think of life experiences, we're not talking about $10,000 vacations. Those are great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you can afford them, but we're talking about life experiences, and just having a shared experience with someone. And that we work for a company that has talked about shared experiences, which, you can kind of put the two together. But, I read a quote that really hit home with me. It's fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. And I think we have been fortunate enough to work with leadership that shared experiences matter in a work environment. And that's pretty darn fabulous, because when I think of my job, I do think of all the shared experiences. I mean, heck, you and I did Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy in a lip sync with stick horses. I mean,
that
that's
was
part of our
epic.
job.
Epic. Maybe you know what we could do? We could post a clip of that in our YouTube channel. Will we get in trouble because we didn't like copyright, or because we like copyright
It's
infringed
just
lip sync?
us.
I know.
No
I
one
don't
else is
know.
in the video except me
No,
and you.
but I don't know if you're allowed to do that or not. But we could email Big and Rich and ask if they care that
But when you,
I don't know what the legalese are of like using someone else's
but
music and making a video. I don't know.
But the point is I drink the Kool-Aid. I believe
Yeah.
in this. I mean, I am not here just saying it. I believe it, because as I look back on all of my life, what really matters to me is all of the life experiences and the fun and the crazy, quirky things that, that we've done throughout our lives with our coworkers, our families, our friends, strangers. I think about some of the experiences of going places and meeting new people and then just becoming friends with them. Next thing you know, your social media buddies. And, it's just, that is what really, really, really matters. And we got to be intentional. And
Yeah, I think when
anyone
you
who's
say
taking the time.
intentional, it has to be on purpose, and you have to try. If you don't put any effort into thinking about it, what an experience is, or even like you said, it doesn't have to be a $10,000 vacation. Maybe it's just an outing to dinner or just anything. And then just what are you doing to add value to that? Or what are you doing to make sure that time spent is an experience that is going to enrich your life or bring you joy. And it's just a mind shift, I guess, that you have to put as much effort into building your life experience resume as you do in your work experience resume. And I think I'm there, been there for a few months. And some experiences are growing and learning experiences, and those matter too. They don't all have to be rosy and perfect, but I'm looking at them all the same, of equal value, and that's all you can do. And I hope to pile on as many more dividends, memory dividends, that I can afford to, or that my body can afford to, my strength, my health, and time, so that when I'm 75 and not going as many places as I can, because I'm seeing that that's actually likely, that I will have lots to get on the phone and talk to you about, Dawn, for hours and hours and hours, as memory dividends.
I agree. And one last thought is to all of you parents out there that have small children and you're trying to figure out how to balance it all. And you're trying to figure out, like, we only have this many more years till they drive and this many more years till they go in. I would tell you, slow down and enjoy the ride, because it will be over before you know it. And all you're going to have is all those memories of when you were at every baseball game, at every soccer game, at all the events, the football games, the kids eating all of your groceries out of your house, if you happen to be lucky enough to where all the kids come hang out at your house. But enjoy it. Be intentional about stopping and just smelling the roses with it, because I do know a lot of people that have a lot of young children and they are in a crazy season of their life, but it will be over with. And this will be lots of memory dividends with your future.
Agree. Well, we have reached we're just over 30 minutes. So I think we've done this topic justice. We are not ready to announce what our next series will be, but we promise it will be good, and we will have that planned out here soon. But we hope that everybody enjoyed the live series. If you have any friends, family, or people that haven't had a chance to listen or may not know about the Unleash with DNA podcast, we hope that you share it. And we love feedback. So any feedback you have, let us know. Anything else from you, Dawn?
Absolutely. No, ma'am. If you haven't found us yet, or if you haven't shared us yet, please do, because we love it, and we will be back soon. So talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye, Dawn.
Bye, Amy.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for tuning in.
We know your time is so valuable. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel for easy access to all of our episodes.
Talk soon.